Imagine a weapon that fired no bullets, detonated no bombs, yet could bring an empire to its knees. A weapon so insidious, so pervasive, it could unravel the very fabric of an enemy's resolve, turning loyalty into doubt and strength into surrender. This isn't science fiction. This is the untold story of psychological warfare. The secret broadcasts, the whispered lies, and the carefully crafted truths that broke the will of nations, often before a single shot was fired. For centuries, commanders understood the power of fear and demoralization. From ancient siege masters spreading rumors of plague to Genghis Khan's terrifying reputation, the mind has always been a battlefield. But it was the industrial scale of the 20th century that truly weaponized communication. During World War I, airplanes weren't just dropping bombs. They were dropping millions of leaflets over enemy trenches. These weren't crude insults. They were meticulously designed messages, often reproducing letters from captured German soldiers describing the horrors of the front or promising fair treatment to those who surrendered. Perhaps the most powerful psychological weapon of World War I came from President Woodrow Wilson's 14 points. Broadcast across enemy lines, it offered a vision of a just peace, not total annihilation. This wasn't just diplomacy. It was a direct assault on enemy morale. German soldiers, starving and exhausted, began to question why they were fighting if a better future was genuinely on the table. A 1918 report by the British War Office explicitly stated that German morale had been profoundly affected by Allied propaganda. It proved that words, carefully aimed, could be as devastating as artillery. The interwar years saw nations like Germany, Italy, and the Soviet Union refine these techniques, turning propaganda into a sophisticated art form, mastering radio, film, and mass rallies. By World War II, radio was king. It leaped over trenches and oceans, directly into homes, becoming the ultimate battleground for hearts and minds. On the Axis side, figures like William Joyce, better known as Lord Haw-Haw, broadcast from Germany, attempting to demoralize the British with sneering predictions of invasion and defeat. But the Allies quickly learned to fight fire with fire. The BBC, with its sober, factual reporting, became a trusted voice even in occupied Europe, offering a stark contrast to Axis bombast. This brings us to a crucial myth correction. Many believe psychological warfare is purely about lies. In reality, the most effective propaganda often weaves inconvenient truths into its narrative, making it far more believable. Take Operation Cornflakes, a brilliant American psychological operation during World War II. They created fake German mail, complete with official-looking stamps and postmarks containing anti-Nazi messages. These letters were airdropped near German rail lines, where they'd be swept up by postal workers and, unknowingly, delivered to German homes. Imagine opening a letter from a friend revealing the regime's deceptions. The Allies also ran black radio stations, purporting to be legitimate German stations, but subtly undermining the regime. Radio Calais, for instance, pretended to be a patriotic German station. It would play German music, report on German victories, then slip in seemingly innocuous reports about local corruption or the growing casualty lists, slowly eroding trust from within. As World War II ended, the Battle of Bullets gave way to a new kind of war, a Cold War fought with ideologies, espionage, and, crucially, airwaves. This was psychological warfare's golden age. The United States launched the Voice of America, VOA, in 1942, initially to counter Nazi propaganda, but it quickly pivoted to become a global voice against Soviet influence. But the most audacious projects were Radio Free Europe, RFE, and Radio Liberty, RL, covertly funded by the CIA, designed to penetrate the Iron Curtain and speak directly to people behind it. Their mission wasn't to incite rebellion, but to provide uncensored news, cultural programming, and a sense of connection to the outside world, chipping away at the Soviet narrative. The Soviet Union, recognizing the threat, poured immense resources into jamming these broadcasts. Massive jamming towers dotted the landscape, creating a cacophony of static. It was a constant cat-and-mouse game. RFE engineers developed clever ways to bypass the jamming, shifting frequencies, boosting power, ensuring their signal got through. A 2010 study by R. Eugene Parda, drawing on interviews, revealed countless stories of individuals risking imprisonment to listen. For many, RFE was their only link to truth. In East Germany, specifically, Parda's research highlighted RFE's profound impact. It fostered dissent, kept hope alive, and exposed the lies of the state. The regime feared it deeply. Beyond news, RFE broadcast Western music, literature, and philosophical discussions. It showed people a world beyond the drab uniformity of communism, fueling aspirations for freedom. What we do not know, or at least cannot precisely quantify, is the exact number of people who deserted or actively resisted due to these broadcasts. The impact was often slow, cumulative, and deeply personal. Many of the specific clandestine operations and the full extent of their funding and reach remain shrouded in secrecy, even decades later, making a complete picture elusive. During the Cuban Missile Crisis, psychological warfare played a subtle but vital role. U.S. broadcasts to Cuba aimed to reassure the populace, while also exposing Soviet deception. In Vietnam, the U.S. launched the Chiu Hoi, Open Arms, program, using leaflets and loudspeakers to encourage Viet Cong and North Vietnamese soldiers to defect, promising amnesty and aid. While some estimates claim hundreds of thousands defected, the program's true effectiveness is debated. It highlights the challenge of psychological operations in a complex cultural and political landscape. Decades of persistent broadcasting by RFE, VOA, and even West German television slowly chipped away at the foundations of the Soviet Empire. The fall of the Berlin Wall wasn't just political. It was a profound psychological victory. People who had been told for generations that the West was evil and collapsing saw a different reality through their radios and smuggled televisions. The Soviet Union didn't collapse just because of economic pressure or military might. It crumbled because its people, informed by persistent whispers from beyond the Iron Curtain, lost faith in its legitimacy. Today, psychological warfare has evolved dramatically. The internet, social media, and AI have created a new, even more complex battleground for influence and persuasion. It's no longer about getting a single message through a jammed signal. It's about navigating an ocean of information, discerning truth from carefully constructed falsehoods. Yet the core principle remains human psychology. It's about tapping into fears, hopes, and desires to subtly shift perceptions and ultimately actions. A 1974 FBI memo on counterintelligence noted that narrative control was often more effective than direct coercion. Control the story, control the people. This isn't just a military tactic. It's a constant, unseen war for our minds, fought in the background of every major conflict, every political upheaval. As technology advances, the methods become more sophisticated, more personalized. Deepfakes, AI-generated narratives, and micro-targeting are the new tools of empire breaking. It forces us to ask, how do we protect ourselves from a war fought not with bombs, but with beliefs? The answer lies in critical thinking, in seeking diverse sources. The lesson from a century of secret broadcasts is clear. The human mind is the ultimate strategic objective. When the mind and the battle, perhaps even the war, is already won. Consider how many empires, how many regimes have truly fallen to a single decisive battle versus the slow, insidious erosion of their people's faith. The story of psychological warfare is a testament to the unseen forces that shape history, proving that the mightiest walls can be brought down not by cannon fire, but by whispers in the dark. Words, it turns out, are far more potent than we often realize. They can build nations, and they can dismantle them, brick by psychological brick. The secret broadcasts that broken empires weren't just about information. They were about hope, about doubt, about the very human struggle for autonomy. Their legacy echoes in every digital message, every news headline, every narrative we consume today. The war for the mind continues, relentless and unseen. So, next time you hear a compelling story or a persuasive argument, pause and ask yourself, who is speaking and what empire are they trying to build or break? Because the most profound battles are often fought not on the battlefield with bombs and bullets, but within the quiet confines of our own minds, shaping the very course of history. If you're fascinated by the hidden forces and untold stories that shaped our world, hit that subscribe button to uncover more brilliant strategies and soldiers who changed history.